Hello, everybody, and welcome to Thoughtfully Fit Thursdays. I'm Darcy Loma, and I'm really excited today because I've got some members of my coaching team here today joining us for a conversation about being thoughtfully fit in your life and the struggles and challenges and successes that my coaches have experienced both individually and with clients. And so I'm going to open it up and just ask each of you to introduce yourself, say your name, and if you want to say a moment of introduction about who you are or what kind of coaching you do.
Hi, I'm Nancy Turngren, and I do life coaching and executive coaching, and I'm happy to join you today, Darcy. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Indidi Oucher, and I am also a life coach as well. So I do all sorts of coaching related to life.
Good morning. I'm Sharon Barber. I'm also a life and leadership coach. Glad to be here with the team.
Good morning. I'm Brian Ocher, and I'm also a life coach.
And we just figured it'd be great to check in with you today because every year we do an annual coaching team retreat, and this is our third annual retreat. So we launched the official coaching team in January of 2016, and we are starting our third year. And it started because I found that there were more clients that wanted coaching than I could service and keep my energy high and stay really positive and focused. And so at that time, I opened up, we put together a whole RFP and put the word out nationally looking for professional certified coaches who would have the value system and the same feeling focus on clients that I have, that I think is important in terms of really focusing on the establishing trust and safety and intimacy and really doing peer coaching. I think there's a lot of coaches out there who do a hybrid of mentoring and coaching or consulting and coaching. And I wanted to bring on coaches who were certified and credentialed with the International Coach Federation so that we could provide the highest value to clients who are looking for coaching. And the cool thing is about the team, as you'll hear when we start to have a conversation here, is that they all have different areas of expertise and different interests, different value systems, different backgrounds. And so what we're going to do is have a conversation about coaching, and we're going to look at it through the lens of being thoughtfully fit and the thoughtfully fit model, which is all about being able to intentionally and mindfully live your life, both internally being thoughtful and mindful and intentional, and then externally being thoughtful in relationship with others and being considerate with others. So I've got some questions that I'm going to throw out there to spur our discussion, and I'll throw in more questions as we need to keep the conversation going. And the first one that I'm going to ask is about your thoughtfully fit core. And that the core in thoughtfully fit is you pause, and then you think, and then you act. Instead of jumping in and just reacting and thinking later like, oh, that wasn't very good. I wasn't very intentional or very thoughtful. And so I'm wondering if you guys could talk about some ways that you build your thoughtfully fit core, either for yourself or with your clients. And what are some of your favorite ways to successfully pause in the moment?
I have one that comes to mind that I've been using for a long time, and I share it with my clients as well. It's pretty simple, but it really helps when I notice I'm a little triggered, or I notice I'm going kind of down a negative path. There's too much to do. What's that noise? Na, na, na. And I'll just recognize that discomfort in myself and just take a moment and pause and ask myself, what's working here? Which kind of surprises my system. You mean there's something working? It just opens that a broader perspective. There's other possibilities. Oh, what's working? Sometimes it's just I'm breathing. I'm still here. I'm breathing. Oh, the chair is comfortable. Oh, there's light coming in. So this opens up other possibilities. So then I ask myself, what's important here? Or what is it that I want truly here? And so that comes more clear, and then that leads me to, okay, so what's the next step then towards that? Is it something I need to say to somebody, a request? Is it getting a cup of tea and giving myself a moment break? So that's one thing I really like to use.
Which is cool because it truly does align with the core. Pause, the think in the pause, think, act is asking questions. And you're saying, what's working here?
Yeah.
And then what was the second question you asked?
What's important, or what is it that I truly want?
What's important, or what do I truly want?
Yeah.
And then with that new awareness, you can act
Right.
more intentionally.
And I think even to add to that, a key piece is even understanding yourself, like you had mentioned. So self-awareness, to know what actually triggers you in order for you to know when it is time to pause, to think, and then act.
Right. What triggers me, and what do I feel like when
Exactly.
I'm triggered? Yeah, so you can be, oh, yeah, I don't feel so great right now. Cue to pause.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a great point, because just being able in the moment to pause enough to recognize you need to pause.
That's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah, that can be really hard
Really
because you're
hard.
triggered.
You're triggered, and that's how you always react. And until you realize that that's what you're doing, then it's then you're like you just keep doing it. You keep doing. You know, you're not pausing and recognizing that when this happens, I do this or I react this way.
And the great thing is, just like the model is sort of modeled after being physically fit, and that when you focus on your physical fitness and you say, okay, I'm going to walk a mile today, and you walk a mile every day for a month, all of a sudden next month it's kind of easy, and like a mile isn't enough, and I'm going to do 2 miles. Same way here, when you build your thoughtfully fit core, it gets easier. Like, I didn't even have to think about pausing. I was triggered. I just did it.
Right, and so that reminds me too. So then sometimes there's, we build up the muscle of being able to pause for a moment. So maybe there's a daily practice, and it doesn't have to be I meditate for 30 minutes. That's just out of reach and too hard for most everybody. So it can be something more like, in the morning, I'm going to enjoy holding my warm cup of tea and look out the window for a couple minutes. Or that can even come into throughout the day. I'm feeling a little tired. I'm going to look out the window. I'm going to take a breath and just come back to my heart, maybe. So there can be short, often related to the senses, I think. Just like noticing the light, noticing a nice smell, noticing the warmth of the cup. Just simple things that help bring you back to the moment and build that ability.
Which is a great segue into the first. There's 6 practices in Thoughtfully Fit, and the first one is stillness. And it's a great segue. I'm wondering if there's any of you can talk about advice you have to practice more stillness in your lives, or things that you see that your clients do to bring in more stillness.
I'll jump in and say I practice for stillness. I like to take a few minutes and go downstairs and walk on the treadmill, and that helps me kind of clear my thoughts. Or even going for a walk outside when it's nice out, when the weather's
Not 8 below.
So that helps me create stillness. Is something that helps relax me, and then I can start my day.
It's a great point, Brian, because for some people you can create stillness in the mind by having movement in the body. Mm-hmm. So walking actually allows me to quiet the mind, as opposed to, there's some people I think that are challenged. And for me, I was intimidated by the word meditate. And I'd sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to meditate. Am I doing it? Am I doing it? Should I do it now? Am I? It's like, yes, in that monkey mind.
Oh,
Yeah. And so being able to go for a walk, all of a sudden, the mind is quieter.
So the key point, it's different for different people. Like you said, meditation, when you mention meditation, I can't completely shut my mind off. But for me, it might be just walking, or mine is actually sometimes music. Music calms my mind. So I tend to have more stillness versus television. When I'm in a room by myself, I do not turn the TV on. I like more music because it's more calming and it calms my mind.
I love to do puzzles, which is kind of different for stillness, but you concentrate, and I can put together a puzzle. I can sit there for hours and just sit and do puzzles, especially in the winter when it's cold and something inside. But that's kind of a nice winter activity, and it also builds in. People come in. It's also a connecting way too. So there's a couple things you get from it, but stillness, it just engages my mind enough that that's all I'm focusing on. So,
And it's interesting. It seems like in those moments of stillness, I don't know if it's like that for you, but for me and some clients, like that's where they get great ideas too, inspiration, creativity. And I often will ask my clients, what's your most resourceful place? And that can be, you know, in church, or my relationship with God, or my tree out my window. And for the great majority of my clients, it's interesting that they'll say nature.
Wow.
Being in nature is where they find some stillness and inspiration. So,
And I had a fabulous, this past summer, I oftentimes will walk, but I'll walk with people, but I went for a walk by myself, and I had this just beautiful day, and I was walking around this kind of wildlife area, and there was a bench, and I sat and I paused, and I had some of the best thoughts I'd had come to me for a long time, and I wasn't trying. It wasn't like, okay, sit and come up with your best thought. That wasn't the goal. It was just I sat still, and stuff came to me that I just was like, oh, so cool. So
beautiful.
yeah, it was just creating that time. You don't purposely say, okay, I'm going to go create some time that these great thoughts are going to come to me.
And they better come fast.
They better come fast. Right. But it's
I've tried that. Doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Kind of like when you wake up at night and you can't fall asleep, and sort of willing yourself. There's an ease to it. Yeah.
Ease, openness, softening.
Yeah. It's funny you say that I don't know, it's in the middle of the night. If I do wake up, my head keeps going. So the thing for me is actually put it on my headphones and listening to music to calm. So it calms me enough, or maybe I'm listening to the music that it calms my mind enough, so I actually do go back to sleep. So music is.
And I do meditate in the middle of the night. I have a meditation app, and I'll turn it on, and it will just and I don't know if it's the voice or then the music that then plays after the voice, but it's almost like you're conditioned to just relax.
Well, and the Dalai Lama apparently says that 3 a.m. is a great time to meditate. So
it is.
You wake up, it's like, well, thank you.
Is.
Okay, universe, I'm going to I'm going to do that now.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I see it as a practice opportunity now. As long as I'm not like, I'm awake again. I go, oh, practice opportunity. Yeah. And just a little bit of meditative breath.
Yeah, so let's build on this and bring in another place that I think a lot of times clients come to coaching. They reach out because they feel stuck in their life. And this may be they're stuck in a job they don't love. It may be they're stuck in a relationship that feels heavy or out of balance. Or it may be they're stuck at a weight that they don't feel healthy. Whatever it is. And in the Thoughtfully Fit model, the endurance practice is all about overcoming those obstacles, about embracing a growth mindset, about having the endurance and the grit to be able to get yourself unstuck, to overcome those obstacles, to achieve your dreams and your goals. So the question I want to ask you guys is, when your clients feel stuck and they come into either the coaching relationship or a coaching session, what are some ways that you help them to overcome those obstacles and embrace their grit to be able to have the endurance to keep going?
I would say with me is when people face an obstacle, is sometimes obstacles can be very overwhelming, and try to break down that obstacle into smaller pieces. And then that way you can celebrate those little victories that add up, and then to take on more of that obstacle to help overcome those.
Yeah, and another thing that I find is often when there's an obstacle, and maybe it's an obstacle for me, but maybe it's not an obstacle for Darcy. So sometimes it's not the obstacle itself, but how we relate to it. So kind of an internal obstacle is where I often will go, and there'll be something surprising there. Oh yeah, I didn't realize. I was thinking I can't do this because, I told myself that when I was 3 or something. There's some internal obstacle, and once we see that and say hello to it, we don't shame it or whatever, but oh, there you are. Thanks for serving in some way. And now, from where you are now, what is it that you really want? How do you want to show up with this? What competency is there to be built here? Or just sometimes just becoming aware of that obstacle and shining light on it, there's suddenly energy and possibility to do something different.
So you're saying kind of name it, right?
Yeah, name it. We'll unearth it a little bit, name it, be kind to it, and then kind of move past it. So now that we've seen how do you really want to show up, or what's really important to you? What is it you really want to create? Great, and then there's some energy there that informs, okay, what's the next step? And it's a different step than they couldn't see it before.
And what I love about when you're sharing, Sharon, is that you're doing it from a place of no judgment. There's no shame. It's like, well, there you are, obstacle. What's your purpose? And what's here to learn from you?
Absolutely. Yeah, because in my experience, there's never been an internal obstacle that meant harm. It ends up later in life, creating some bumps and problems, but it's actually that they're always trying to do something of service. So just smiling at them and then going, thanks for your work, and then we're going to do it differently now, though.
And that's that. I kind of pull in some theory behind coaching with what we use is a narrative theory, and that's the theory of, you create the story. So it's all the story that you've created that you've, told yourself, oh, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this. Or somebody told you you're not good at this. So, oh, I must not be good at this then. So if you can just recognize that this is just a story, this is just your perception, and if you can look at it, what's another way to look at it? What's a different way to really take this situation and perceive it differently? And again, like a different story. Sharon can look at it differently, than I would look at it. We both can sit here and look at this table and say, oh, it's a cream-colored table that we're sitting in front of, but somebody else, looks at it and has a whole different story. So just recognizing that it may be something that you've created, or somebody, you've created this story inside yourself, and how do you want to do it differently?
So there's a huge internal piece, but also some clients that come to me, they're stuck because they have ideas that are just floating in their head. So sometimes something as simple as just brainstorming. Said, okay, just shake it all off. Don't think too much about it. What comes to your mind when when you say this? And just the free flowing, it gets their mind going, and they're not. A lot of them say that, well, I just feel like I'm stuck because it's been in my head, and now just talking through it, it makes it so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the synergy that's created by being able to get it out of your head, put it out there, and then have somebody receive it and play with it and expand on it
and mirror it.
Yes, and mirror it. Yes. Right.
And even mirror how you sounded when you were laying those out.
Yes.
I noticed there was some excitement around this, and man, your energy got low around that. What's going on there? Yeah. So it really helps kind of mirror it back and distinguish, what do I really want and what's just kind of clutter.
Which is so interesting, because when you wouldn't think that we'd be blind to our own emotions, but I'm always amazed when I'm in my own coaching session with my coach and she points out my energy shifts. I'm like, really? My energy went down? And there's some greater wisdom there that my body knows that I'm not yet conscious of. And when she can hold up the mirror and point out, yeah, your energy just went way down when you said that. Oh, yeah, there's a story I'm making up that I should do this because fill in the blank. And it always opens up more wisdom.
Yeah, I was just meeting with a client last week and she said, she was telling me, she was stuck and telling me kind of the story between two different things, and there was a completely different energy when she told two sides, and I shared that with her, and she said, I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing that. I need you to do more of that, to pick up on my energy. And she said, because I didn't pick up on that at all.
Which is interesting, because Sharon and I teach the Professional Life Coaching Certificate course at UW-Madison, and on our teleconference yesterday we were teaching this skill. And it's a skill for coaches to learn, and it's something I think that's valuable even with your spouse, with your kids, with your friends, with your colleagues, to be able to and the skill, the core competency is active listening, and to truly be able to hold the mirror up for somebody and let them know what you've heard on two levels. One is the content of what you heard, but then the second level is the energy or the emotions of what you've heard. And I just wanted to highlight that, because I think there were a lot of aha moments with the students yesterday when we were doing these skill drills, and particularly on the receiving end, like, wow, I felt really seen and heard when you held up the mirror, and it gave me more wisdom. It slowed it down, and I have more insights now.
Powerful.
It is powerful.
It is.
It's powerful.
It is.
Feels simple, but so powerful.
I know. Exactly. So I think we'll have time for maybe one more question. And I'm going to, let's see here. I'm just going to pick agility. So in the Thoughtfully Fit model, agility is all about how do you handle it when something happens to you, you're caught off guard, you're blindsided. Somebody comes in your office and says, I can't believe you did that. And you're just like, whoa. Or you get an email, somebody's angry or upset with you. It's oftentimes you're caught off guard in that moment. You're blindsided, you feel attacked. And so I'm wondering if you guys have any either tips personally that you do when you feel blindsided. How do you practice agility in the moment? Or if you have any stories about clients who have struggled with this and things that they maybe have done to be able to respond effectively instead of react on autopilot.
I think part of it is to share that you're working on this, because if you don't have somebody kind of holding you accountable, that you notice, because you've been doing it, you've been reacting this way for so long, it just is habit. And so years ago when I first started working on that, I put it out there, and I had a reaction, and my daughter, said, Mom, I think you are reacting there, not responding. And I'm like, oh, yes, that would be true. That would be true. So, it does take help. You need help. It isn't just that, you're working on it in your own mind, because as we said, as you say things out loud, it comes out differently. And so I would encourage people to share with those people around you that this is something I'm working on.
Which is great, and can take a bit of courage to be vulnerable.
Yes.
To say, I'm struggling, and this is what I'm working on, to put yourself out there.
Yeah. And I remember that, and I use that with my clients a lot. I'll tell them that example, like, how does this work? How do I get triggered, but I can't stop myself. I'm like, well, ask for help.
And this is where the pause think comes in, because it could be an email that I received that triggers me, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to walk away from the table for a little bit. Or it could be something, an event in the day that triggers me, that I'm like, I'm just going to sleep over it overnight before I respond to it and give myself time to think about it. But like you said, it's something I'm always constantly working on myself.
And that's the other frustrating thing, is that it's not like once you get it, you got it. You have to continually, nourish yourself with something to be able to stay in that state, because you can get, it's not like, oh, now I've got it all figured out, got it.
Now I've run a marathon, I'm fit. I don't ever have to work out again.
Right.
Oh, no, actually, I do.
And I'm glad you brought up the marathon and that, because it's like, I work with my clients also to practice returning to center with small triggers. When there's not much at stake, at all. It's like somebody overcooked the potatoes. Whatever it is, you feel your little triggers. You get to know what a trigger state feels like, and you practice coming back to center. And we come up with a practice that works for the client, but it's very often. I also do commitment statements with people that they start organizing around just a brief commitment statement of what they're working on to become. And so they practice these triggers when it's very low stakes, very easy. Oh, I am triggered. What was that again? Oh, I'm a commitment to authentic leadership. Take a breath. What does that look like? In this moment, laugh off the potatoes. So you're building the strength. You repeat this. Repetition with attention and awareness is what changes our patterns. One of the things. So have them repeat through the day, so that when a big trigger comes in at work, that is available. It's available. Right. What's important? Take a breath. Authentic leadership. That's one thing.
And it reminds me of saying in that when I studied Love and Logic, and they say celebrate when something goes wrong when the kids are little, because then when the stakes are high and something goes wrong when the kids are big, they have more capacity. And so I always think, okay, yes, repetition, this is good that this is going wrong, because they're building up that muscle and that strength for when they're older.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the marathon. That was the connection with the marathon. You don't just run the marathon. You start with, running around the block.
Yeah. So, do I not have the coolest team ever? This is so fun, and I think we'll wrap it up for today, but I'm going to say publicly that we get together regularly to support each other. We talk through case studies and mentoring and ethics for the International Coach Federation and core competencies and support each other. We do this regularly, so if you guys like this, I'd love to hear from you. Put some comments, and I'm going to put it out publicly that I think we should do this again when we get together, so that we can bring you some of the collective wisdom of these amazing coaches that really work to make a difference in so many people's lives. So thank you very much for joining us today. And if you guys are local, the team, all of us will be at the Promega on February 21st for the Brava event, where we'll be talking about another one of the Thoughtfully Fit practices, which is balance. And it's all about how to have balanced relationships, and especially when there's conflict or tension and you need to step into a difficult, crucial, tough, fierce conversation. So if you are in the area, please join us on February 21st, and you can meet with and talk to all of us on that day. Everybody have a great week.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Goodbye.